I was born into a rich and important family on Marigold Island. I was the younger of 2 girls, the only children in our family. My sister was 6 years ahead of me, so when I was a child, we didn't play much together. I was just 12 when she married. I remember the day of her wedding clearly, filled with joyful people, laughter, singing, and happiness. But when my sister departed with her new husband, Mr. Carter, I felt a wave of sadness. She had always been kind to me, much more so than my mother. I cried as she left for her new life in Belfast. My parents didn't hold much love for me. They had desired sons, and hence they weren't particularly interested in me. About a year after my sister's wedding, we received a letter from Mr. Carter informing us that my sister was ill. She wished to return to Marigold Island to be with her family. Although saddened by her illness, I was also overjoyed at the prospect of her visit. "They're leaving Belfast on Sunday," my father announced. "They will arrive here on Tuesday evening." Tuesday was a long and anxious day, the hours creeping by. I strained my ears for any sign of my sister and her husband. By midnight, I was wide awake, listening and waiting. Suddenly, around 1 in the morning, I heard a distant sound. I raced out of my bedroom and into the living room. "They're here! They're here!" I shouted to my father. We swiftly opened the front door to get a clearer listen. We waited for a few moments, and we heard the noise again, a faint crying in the distance. Yet there were no lights, no people. We ventured outside, hoping to greet my sister and assist her, but no one was there. Confused, my father and I exchanged a baffled look. "I know I heard a noise," he stated. "Yes," I agreed. "I heard it too, Father. But where are they?" We retreated back into the house, silent and fearful. The next day, a messenger arrived with the grave news. My sister had died. She had fallen seriously ill on Sunday, and by Tuesday, around 1 in the morning, the same time we heard the crying, she had passed away. The memory of that night haunted me. The following 2 years were filled with sorrow. It felt as if my life had come to a halt. I became reclusive, avoiding interaction with others. Mr. Carter soon remarried another young woman in Belfast, which stirred up resentment within me. I felt that he had quickly forgotten my sister. As the only remaining child of a wealthy and prominent family, men began visiting our home to meet me, some with the hopes of marriage, even before I turned 14. I was uninterested in all of them and thought myself too young to marry. At 16, my mother decided to take me to Belfast. "Belfast is a bustling city," she said. "We will find wealthier and more interesting men there, and you'll easily find a good husband." Life in Belfast was more agreeable. I met many amicable people and danced every evening. Several young men would come up and ask me to dance. I enjoyed conversing with them. I found joy in life again and didn't spend all my time mourning my sister. However, my mother was discontented. She wanted me to secure a husband soon. One night, she entered my room before bedtime. "Do you know Lord Hayden Carson?" she asked. "Oh, yes," I replied. "He's that unpleasant old man from Langwell." "He's not unpleasant, and he's not old, Fanny," my mother retorted quickly. "He comes from a very affluent and important family. He wishes to marry you. He loves you." "He loves me! Wants to marry me! But he's mistaken, Mother," I protested. "I don't love him. I can't marry someone I don't love." "Think about it, Fanny," my mother urged, leaving me to ponder. Lord Hayden Carson was a pleasant man. I didn't love him, but I did like him. He always spoke about intriguing subjects. I never felt at ease at home with my parents, but I felt more comfortable talking to him. The following morning, I said one word to my mother. "Yes." Lord Hayden Carson and I married the next spring. 2 days after our wedding, we bid farewell to my family and departed from home. 3 days later, we arrived at Langwell, where I saw my husband's gorgeous house for the first time. It was situated near a river, with numerous trees and blooming flowers adorning the garden. The songs of birds filled the air, and the sky was clear blue. Standing by my husband, taking in the picturesque scene, I felt a surge of happiness. "Come, my love," said my husband. "Let me introduce you to Martha. She takes care of cooking and cleaning and knows everything about the house." We entered the house, and I met Martha, a warm-hearted elderly lady with twinkling blue eyes. When I saw her, I felt a warmth in my heart. She was an old woman with blue eyes, always smiling. She took me around the house, and I started to feel excited about living there. Then Martha took me to see our bedroom. I went in but was scared when I saw something big and black, like an old coat without a person in it. Martha seemed scared too when I told her what I saw. She said that in this house, seeing a black coat meant something bad was going to happen to our family. I felt scared and sad, but I didn't tell my husband about the black coat. I just wanted to forget it and be happy. One day, my husband and I walked around the house and its gardens. I told him how much I liked it there, more than our old home in Tyrone. But he suddenly became serious and told me that I should never go to the rooms at the back of the house or the small garden near the back door. I didn't understand why, but I saw that he was serious. He wasn't smiling anymore, and it made me worried. A month later, I saw another woman in the house for the first time. She was sitting in my room, wearing a black coat. She was blind. I told her that she was in my room by mistake, but she didn't agree. She even hit me when I told her that I was the lady of the house, not her. She said that she was my husband's wife, not me. I was very scared and confused. When I told my husband about this, he told me to forget her, but I couldn't. Things got worse every day. He was always quiet and seemed scared. Then one day he suggested that we should move to another country, like France or Spain. I didn't understand why we had to leave our home. I didn't want to be too far away from my parents in Tyrone. They were old, and my father was often ill. One night, the blind woman came to my room. She had a knife. She told me that she was my husband's wife, not me, and I had to leave the house. I was very scared. When I told my husband about it, he was angry. He asked me if I had been to the rooms at the back of the house. I said no. He told me not to listen to the blind woman. Then I talked to Martha, and she told me a shocking story. The blind woman was dead, and I had seen her ghost. She was once my husband's wife. No one knows how she died, but someone saw my husband with a knife on the night she died. No one knows if he killed her. After hearing this, I left the house. I was too scared to stay there. I returned to Tyrone and lived with my parents. The house was quiet, and I slept well every night. Sometimes I saw my dead sister in my dreams, but I was never afraid. She told me that the blind woman's ghost was still in my old house looking for me, but I knew she would never find me there. She would have to wait for the next woman who became the lady of the house.